Hello everybody, welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics channel with me, your host Jay, and today it's time for the Panel by Panel comic review. We have 13 books to get through, so let's go ahead and get this video started. Starting off with the first book, the one coming in at the bottom, but this was a great week, not gonna lie. All these books were very solid, but the one that unfortunately has to come in at the bottom is Cyclops. This is issue number 2. I just think I don't like Cyclops. And also the villains, the Reavers, they're not my favorite. And I think that the book was it was solid, but I don't want to spend my money on it anymore. And as bad as that kind of sounds, I just don't appreciate the X-Men right now. I also don't know if this story is important to the rest of the X-Men universe going on right now with the Shadows of Tomorrow event. It was kind of all over the place, but if you do enjoy a student-teacher type of relationship, because you're probably going to see Cyclops with this girl May, who is a mutant that has these very strong powers, and she has some super strength, and she was being locked up by these Reavers and having stuff done to her, and she escaped them, and now you see that they are trying to come after her, and Cyclops essentially saves May. And then there's this creepy ass dude that at the end, his supposed teammate who gets thrown off the edge of the cliff by May, and he just takes all his stuff because this dude was mean to him at the beginning. He's like, yeah, you're dead now. I'm just going to rob you of all your stuff. But Cyclops, it's okay. I'm not going to continue it anymore. I still gave it a solid D+. Now, next we go over to DC. This is my lowest DC comic on the rankings. We have Nightwing, issue 136. I enjoyed it. I thought this was a solid enough issue. I'm interested to see where it's going to go. This is a 32-page comic for $5. Cyclops was 32 pages for $4. But this is a noir story arc starting here. It's very dark. Hopefully that you can see that. But the art was great from Cohen in this issue. New artists still have Dan Waters writing it. But we get introduced and we say there's a new mayor named of Mayor Bisogni. And they make this Bloodhaven superhighway, and Nightwing is, safe to say, not a fan of it because he thinks that Bloodhaven should be a walking city, not a highway type of city. But he comes across this woman just walking across the highway, and she seems like she's out of it, not really there mentally. And he picks her up in his car, and is driving along. He's like, yeah, there's something weird about you. And so people say you're witching around, and then yeah, she's a witch. Nightwing kind of knew it, and I don't know if she's out of time or if she's a witch from a long time ago and she's just old as hell. We'll see what happens with that story. I'm intrigued with it, but then she sees these hills right over the highway, and that kind of sends her off. She's like, that's my home. No, I have to go there. You're not going to take me to the hospital. I'm going home. Because she started bleeding from her nose when she's doing all this witch stuff. And she janks the car over, and 9 people die in a huge super crash, and Nightwing is absolutely distraught from it. And now, was this accident because of a curse put on the highway, or was it not? Nightwing feels like the highway is cursed because so many people have already died on this highway in the short amount of time that it has been there. But Nightwing, a solid issue. I will be picking up the second issue of this story arc. I gave it a solid B. Next, we go back to Marvel. We have ASM. This is issue number 24. Not my favorite part of the Death Spiral event so far. The art was good. We got a whole lot more of Carnage than we did of anything else. I still enjoyed it, but it's probably the weakest issue of this event so far. We see Carnage in Torment go at it, and Torment nearly kills Carnage with the shocking blast that he acquired while killing Shocker. And this basically pisses off Carnage, and he goes on a rampage, and he goes after Torment, trying to search for him. And we get MJ and Venom having a whole lot of one-on-one conversation throughout this entire part. And it's more of a catch-up issue for all the other stuff going on with ASM, like MJ and Peter, and then also Brian back at the hospital. And he has these weird things crawling into his mouth in what looked to be a dream, but that's what's really going on. There's some bioorganism that he inhaled whenever that explosion happened a couple before the events of Death Spiral, whenever I believe it was Ben Reilly that was currently Peter Parker, because he was in space, and he's not in a good way right now. He is really struggling, and these things are hiding in his body, and we'll see what that happens for him. But then we get Carnage finding Torment, and Carnage is coming, and he, at the very end, it's revealed that Carnage has actually been controlling Eddie Brock the whole time, and Eddie is not here right now. That was pretty incredible. This was really good, I think. Sets up for the next coming issues to come. Amazing Spider-Man issue number 24, I gave a solid B. Next, kind of flip-flopping here with Marvel and DC quite a bit, we have Catwoman. This is issue number 85, a new jumping on point. This is Selina's Gotham Homecoming starts here. So Selina is back in Gotham and is desperate for money. She's really desperate for money, so she goes ahead and tries to rob the Gotham PD, and she pulls it off very successfully, but with some help from Carmine Falcone. But not known to her, Carmine Falcone was there to get drugs as well. By the way, the art was very solid in this issue. And we also see Holly and Catwoman, who is a character that Catwoman really adores and really cares for. Holly comes to Catwoman, or Selina, and she's like, hey, I really need money. She needs $9,000, which Catwoman unfortunately does not have right now, but that's why she's doing this heist with Carmine Falcone. I mean, she just needed a reason to do it. She really wanted to, but now she has an actual legitimate reason. So she pulls off the heist with Carmine Falcone, but to her, she didn't know that there was going to be drugs involved. So she has a big issue with that, because Selina, she has her morals. I'll steal money. I'm not going to steal drugs and sell them on the black market. But it was a really solid issue. And then Selina comes back to her apartment, sees a tied up person, suspecting it to be George. And whenever she takes off the mask of this person, man, something happened that I did not see coming. This was a really good start with this Catwoman jumping on point. I am buying into it. I know it's not a buy or sell video, but this was really good. I'm going to keep reading Catwoman for a couple more issues as long as it stays as good as that. I gave it a solid B, and I think that is pretty modest. I think it could have been a little higher, but there wasn't a whole lot of action at the beginning. But this is a new jumping on point, and I'm interested to see where Catwoman will go with Poison Ivy being the mayor of Gotham right now. Going back to Marvel, we have Wade Wilson, Deadpool. This, another fun book by Benjamin Percy. No more clowning around. We see a whole lot of Deadpool action at the very beginning, going after these clowns. That's a nice 2-page spread. The art is really good from this book. And we see Deadpool essentially going from battle to battle, and he knows what all's going to happen. And you're like, how is Deadpool just everywhere anytime that something bad is happening? Well, we find out that he's been getting these notes that let him know when something bad is going to happen. Really intriguing to know who is sending these notes. Like, is it somebody that's evil, somebody that's good, somebody that wants to see Deadpool be happy? We get plenty of comedic sense here from Deadpool with Benjamin Percy, and then we get the heart-wrenching Ellie stuff, which is very sad, and it causes Deadpool to have these nightmares, and he screams out of his sleep, and Blind Al, not Big Al, Blind Al is really worried for Wade, and she really does care for him. She makes him tea. He tells you to tie up her robe because it was very loose. And he said neither of us want that to happen. And at the end, we see Deadpool going off to another battle after escaping from Tombstone, who came to visit him at this cafe. And safe to say, Deadpool has some enemies coming after him. Really intrigued to see who actually is sending the notes for Wade Wilson. And this is a solid B. Really good Deadpool issue. I'm hoping Benjamin Percy can keep it up, because I just want to read more Deadpool because I love the character. Next, a book that kind of fell a little bit lower than from expectations. I have Captain America, still a really solid book. This is issue number 8, 32 pages for $5. And we see Steve and Alina Von Doom having a one-on-one about, hey, why can't we just go out into the open? And she's like, I will die. I already got stabbed once. Moral of the story, like that's essentially what she was saying. I can't just go out in the open like you and try to just be anti-war and anti-this, because I will probably die. And we get a flash over to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that are currently there with Nick Fury. And the character of Charles Castlemore, that black dude right there, he is flirting his tail off right now to the Red Widow, and she likes it. She's definitely getting a little crush there, so maybe a little romance brewing between them. But then we see Steve and these twins go after Scavenger because they know that he is, or Salvation. I keep wanting to call him Scavenger, but he's not a good dude, and Nick Fury is really onto him. He thinks that he is not a good dude, and whenever we get to the very end of the comic, we see that there is just a body, a whole graveyard of bodies in a ditch that Salvation has been killing off, and Steve ends the comic saying, "I'm going after him with or without you, Nick Fury, and God help you if you stand in my way." Really good end to this comic. It kind of saved it because the beginning and middle was pretty slow. The end definitely ramped up whenever they went into the Salvation, I guess, territory, and they saw all the evil stuff that he had been doing. So this is a solid B. Captain America, we're getting closer and closer to that Armageddon event in the summer. Hopefully it's good with Chip Zdarsky. Next, we have our first, I believe our first, independent comic. We have G.I. Joe. This is issue number 20. It's pretty simple. Optimus meets Duke, and I am so happy that they actually kept the continuity of this, and Optimus is not a Prime anymore. Huge bonus points for canon continuity, but this issue starts with Matt Tracker being tracked by Scrap Iron, but G.I. Joe and Duke, Clutch, and Hound show up and scare him off, and then Duke is like, "Hey, Hound, you need to take me to your leader." And Hound, not knowing that Optimus isn't technically his leader anymore, takes him to Optimus, and then whenever G.I. Joe calls him Optimus Prime, Optimus is like, "I am Prime no longer, so just call me Optimus." Hound is like, "How the hell did this happen?" And we get the events of the previous Transformers issue all laid out in case people probably didn't read the Transformers issue and are only reading the G.I. Joe, just so that other people can know what's going on in the Energon universe, which I really appreciate. A little bit annoying to me because I already knew all this, but I understand you have to recap in case people aren't getting Transformers. But then we continue the issue with Duke and Optimus talking to each other. They have a sit down and discuss their differences. And Duke lets Optimus in on one of his dreams where he basically kills all of the Cybertronians on Earth. And he's like, "Hey, if you backstab me, this is what's going to happen." And Optimus is like, "Yeah, that won't work out good for you if it comes down to that, but okay, buddy." And then Hound opts to stay with the G.I. Joes. He likes Clutch, he likes Duke, he likes G.I. Joe, so he's going to stay with them. And Optimus is like, "Hey, if you ever need us, we're going to be here." And then they say, "G.I. Joe, roll out." I thought that was really cool. And then at the very end, we see that Scarlet is now wanted, dead or alive, according to General Flag, who we know is actually Zartan right now, in case if you didn't know that. Huge spoiler, sorry. Should have probably prefaced that. But that is a huge decision in the G.I. Joe side of the Energon universe. Why is Scarlet wanted, dead or alive now? Really intrigued to know why. But G.I. Joe, issue number 20. This is a B+, a really solid comic here with Joshua Williamson and G.I. Joe. They always do a good job at making it really intriguing and continuing the story with the overarching themes of the Energon universe. Now we're getting closer and closer to that top 5. I think this comes in at number 6. Yes, it does. We have the Infernal Hulk. This is issue number 5, 32 pages for $4. And this issue follows the Infernal Hulk taking on the one above all. But only, is it actually the one above all? No, it's actually one of his servants. And once Hulk found that out, he beat his ass. But he had to endure a lot before that. The art was really good from Kev Walker. I really enjoyed it. I would have been interested to see how Nick Klein would have done the art for this issue. But we have to live with Kev Walker. And we see after Infernal Hulk recognizes that no, it's actually not the one above all. You're just one of his pesky slaves. Yeah, he basically says the servant he sent to die in his place. Yeah, it's pretty rough, and the Infernal Hulk goes crazy. Meanwhile, Bruce and Betty are contemplating life. They're like, "We have it so good out here, yada yada yada." But then whenever they go to visit one of their friends, Natty, who buried their son today, he wasn't in his casket because he turned into a Hulk-like creature. Like, what in the world? I don't know why that happened. But now Bruce realizes there's no true escape from Hulk, so he has to go and try to make things right and become the Hulk again. It looks like that's what we're heading for. So the Infernal Hulk, solid issue here from PWJ, or PKJ, Philip Kennedy Johnson. Really enjoyed it. Infernal Hulk, always a masterclass over at Marvel. That is a solid B+. We go back to Image Comics and we have Wrestle Heist. This is issue number 4. Kyle Starks does a great job with both the writing and the art in this issue. And we see that the heist is starting to take place, and we see that Buddy Hansen is starting to get some security and even the police involved, because he knows that Sterling and his group of friends are trying to rob his Fightsgiving event. And we see that the beginning stages start to take place. El Hijo de Ocho, the 8-Ball's son, is really terrified to do this whole thing, because we also saw at the end of the previous issue, Buddy Hansen came to him and made him an offer that he could not refuse. So throughout this whole issue, you're like, okay, where is it going to go bad? And 8-Ball, or the son 8-Ball, he is really not looking forward to this. He's freaking out like, okay guys, can we go? Please, can we go? Please, can we go? And they're like, no, dude, calm down. We're doing this, okay? So they do the whole thing. Sterling swaps places with the 8-Ball, the dad, because he's been making a lot of these little side conversations happen where he's like, hey, we need to do this so that this can happen. We need to do this so that this can happen. And he isn't having it with the whole group. And Gravedigger's like, if he hasn't been telling me these secrets, what hasn't he been telling me the whole time? Which is a very solid point to make if you are Gravedigger. But we see the 8-Ball's son kind of go crazy after his dad punched his special medicine away from him. He's like, I can't tightrope this thing. I can't do it unless I have my special medicine. But this was a big growth. Like the 8-Ball son and dad conversation here was really good. I think the son was really starting to feel bad after that, because now he knows, like, I just ratted on my dad and now everything's going to go bad. A fun comedic point was whenever the 8-Ball son tried to open the door and he was freaking out. He's like, oh my God, how could he not account for this? It was a push door. It was a push door, but he said, what kind of psychopath puts a pull handle on a push door? It's diabolical, dude. And he's got a good point. I think any place that does that is kind of crazy. But then we have Gravedigger and Beowulf finally breaking into the safe. Excuse me. And if you remember the previous issue, 8-Ball's son, he ratted them out. And there's someone waiting for them inside of that safe. Who is it? Well, you're going to have to read this issue to find out. One of the best issues of the previous week. This came in at number 4 for me. It was number 5, excuse me. This was a really good book. Kyle Starks is absolutely killing it. There's another Kyle Starks book coming up, another Kyle Starks book coming up that I really enjoyed as well. One of my favorite writers currently going. I give Wrestle Heist an A-. Next is another Image comic. We have The Thing on the Doorstep. This is one of the most creepiest books going right now. This issue follows the slow demise of Edward, who appears to be the main character of this show, but it follows the demise where it all started when he met this girl called Amanith at the place that he went to university, which is called Miskatonic. Probably why he hated the place so much, because ever since he went to this place, his life has gone down the drain because he met Amanith. And she's most likely a demon, but she hides in human skin, and I think that she is draining the life from Edward, and for some reason he enjoys it enough to stay. And his friends Daniel and Carla are seriously worried about their best friend Edward. They went to their wedding in the winter, and she's like, hey, I don't like the way that he looked at Edward. By the way, this was so creepy. That kid is probably traumatized for the rest of his life, Edward Jr. Yeah, I mean, he had a real visceral reaction to that. Pretty terrifying with that. She seems like a terrifying character. And who is that for a butler? Are you kidding me? And she just sits in the shadows. She's like, yeah, y'all need to go. Y'all need to leave. And at the very end, whenever he comes to them, he's like, guys, we're heading to Europe for this trip. And they're like, God, please stay in touch, Edward. Please stay in touch. And he's like, no, she doesn't like other people interfering. We're going to Europe. Please just leave me alone. I'm so sorry. And this is probably after the point of the first issue where we see Edward continuously going over to Europe, and it seems like he keeps getting drained and drained but this is a really good horror comic book coming from Image Comics. The Thing on the Doorstep, issue number 2, I gave it A-. A lot of really great books this week. They were really hard to stack, especially whenever they are like a similar rating, like an A- or a B. But a book that was better than The Thing on the Doorstep, coming in at number 3, I had Absolute Flash. This is issue number 13. One of the best Absolute books in recent time, or at least for Absolute Flash. It's just one of the best issues that it's had. We start off with Wally going back to the Dibny mission. Ralph Dibny is the, I guess, the owner of it back in Central City. We get an Absolute Wonder Woman reference after Dibny's like, hey, I saw your powers. I know that's you. I can definitely just call the cops and make this, I want to find out what's going on, what's wrong. And Wally's like, yeah, don't do that. And Dibny's like, okay, I won't do that. But a person that really pushes him is Linda, this girl also at the Dibny mission. And she's like, hey, I know you have powers. You need to show them to me or else I'm going to post this, yada, yada, yada. But she did it more in a joking manner. And I think that she just wants to be there for Wally as a friend or as something else. It seems like a romance is brewing there. But Linda finally gets the powers revealed to her from Wally. And she's like, hey, slow down. I'm going to barf. And she's like, yeah, no, I just wanted you to stop that. But can we go eat? Yada, yada, yada. Really, really good book. And we get the backstory behind why Wally didn't like his dad and why he didn't get along with him. And it's because his mom was being bipolar, or his mom being bipolar, not was being bipolar. She had bipolar. And while she was off of her meds and his dad was gone, she ended up killing herself. A really, really sad backstory there with Wally's mom. And Linda and Wally go to investigate Fort Fox to see what's going on there. And then they run into this room full of mirrors, and we get the Master of Mirrors to be revealed. Mirror Master. Basically, Absolute Mirror Master is here. We'll see where that goes. A little two-issue story arc here for Absolute Flash. I'm interested to see how it's going to go. I really enjoyed this first part. Him and Linda getting together seems like a really good addition to this story. Get some romance, get some actual character growth, especially with the reveal of his backstory of his mom. I gave Absolute Flash an A-. One of the best DC books coming out for the previous week. But the best DC book, in my opinion, that came out was their DC Vertigo's End of Life. This is issue number 2. I have never read a bigger prick in comics than Eddie Stallion. This dude is an absolute POS. He treats his dad like shit. I can understand because he's a terrible dad. But even Sophia, his crush, the gas station lady, people just walking around the town, they're like, why is this dude so mean to me? And Eddie just does not give a crap about anybody. And he wants to get out of there, and he finally gets these murder brothers to come drop off some money and some supplies to him so he can get out of there. But people all want him dead. And Eddie thinks to call those murder brothers because they're close. But when they get to meet up for the exchange, you find out that, hey, we hated you the whole time. You were a piece of S. You're a POS to us back then. You're a POS now. We don't care. We want this bounty on your head. And Eddie kind of goes like, it's almost like the Void. You can't see his facial expressions at all. But he turns into Hitman Eddie Stallion, going from laughing, goofy Eddie Stallion to I'm whooping that ass Eddie Stallion. It was really, really intriguing. I love the real quick transition from cool, happy, emotionful guy to emotionless killer of Eddie Stallion. And at the very end, we get a hint of who the next person coming after him is probably going to be. But End of Life, the comedy is great. You love to hate the character of Eddie Stallion. I'm sure in the end, he will become a happy camper, and you'll actually appreciate the character growth. But End of Life, issue number 2, an A comic. One of the best that came out this previous week. But the best comic came from Dark Horse, American Caper, issue number 5. I mean, Dan Houser just knows how to create the most intriguing characters out of the blue. This book starts with the husband, who we know, being a perv, looking on to the Mormon wife across the way, or the neighbor. And also we see the wife, maybe she's going to shoot her husband. We see that the Mormon wife is having some thoughts in her head about, man, I really do love being a wife. I really do love it. Oh my God, this is awful. Oh my God, why did I just think that? Oh my gosh, I can't hold a conversation with my husband. I'm so sad. Oh my gosh, why did I think that? Which is essentially kind of the whole theme of this book. It's trying to convince yourself that you're happy, and that was the whole theme of every single character in this issue, trying to create this sense of delusion to yourself that I am happy, when in reality you are not. We see the wife shoot the bird that was right next to her husband, and she kind of chickened out because she was going to shoot him. But then we jump over to that cowboy ranch where we fully meet the two maids of the place, the at least female maids, named Eva and Maria. More specifically, Eva, who tells Maria to enjoy every aspect of life and money isn't the root to all happiness. It kind of is, at least from my point of view, but also she has a really good point because she was married to this cartel boss who is one of 3 brothers, and she was married to him, and when he got upset, she would hit him. And the backstory between Eva's just absolutely horrific experience with these cartel members, which of course it would be horrific, they're cartel members. She realized that at the end of the day that the cartel, she realized that I had enough, and she eventually killed him. And it's revealed at the very end that the cartel is about to go on a murder hunt looking for her, or just to find out some more info behind their brother's death. And then we also see Marnie going to a shooting range. Also, this was absolutely graphic. Just the whole scene of Eva and confronting her husband at the time and to eventually killing him. That whole sequence was absolutely gruesome. And then we get Marnie at the very end going to the bar with the creepy conspiracy crush. And she made out with him while he was pissing, and he was pissing on her. She's like, yeah, it don't matter, I'm wearing camouflage. Like, what in the world? This was my pick of the week. It's an A+ comic, American Caper. If you have not started it, pick up the trade. It is absolutely amazing, I bet. And I bet it reads even better in trade. I love reading issue by issue, but right now, with how it's going, it has been a really good comic book. Really appreciate American Caper and Dark Horse and everything that Dan Houser is doing with that book. The art is always great. The writing is always great. The character growth is always great. I'm really intrigued to see what the next issue holds. But guys, that is going to do it for this panel by panel comic review. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Go ahead, share with your friends. We're almost up to 20 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the love recently, all the way up to 17 at the time of recording this video. But guys, keep reading those comics panel by panel, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.